The Wolf Among Us is one of Telltale's main hits that propelled them into fame. It has been well reviewed across the board and has a strong fan base to this day who are also yearning for The Wolf Among Us 2. But how does Wolf Among Us stand today? Is it worth playing 11 years later or skipping to a different choose-your-own-adventure title like Detroit Become Human or Telltale's newest series, The Expanse? Let's take a look. Big warning of spoilers ahead. In short, The Wolf Among Us is a good, if not great game, and you should play it without anyone spoiling the story. The game is a murder mystery in a beautifully horrid world with very interesting lore and well fleshed out characters. It is worth playing, and any spoilers would rob you of part of what makes the game so good. Definitely play the game, then come back here and let me know what you thought. I do suggest playing this game in the dark, late at night, when you can't sleep and want to sink your teeth into something. Anyway, you've been warned. I'm going to get to the story last, as this is the main part of the game and where we have the most to talk about. So let's start with its history. The Wolf Among Us, created and released by Telltale Games on October 11th, 2013 for the Xbox 360, PC, and Mac, with later releases for the PS3 on October 15th. The game was released in 5 episodes, and it's worth saying that the first episode released October 11th, with the final episode releasing on July of 2014. The game was based on the comic book named Fables by Bill Willingham. This game is one of 2 comic book licenses that they acquired, the other one being The Walking Dead by Robert Kirkman. Due to The Walking Dead show, the developers put that game into their main focus. It took a lot of delays and willpower to rally and finish The Wolf Among Us, but overall the game was a hit. The story was gripping, the characters were engaging, and it had action and a world you wanted to get lost in, and stayed true to the source material. Its main negatives were the game's pacing and technical issues. The game was nominated for several awards, including the BAFTA, and nominated in the DICE Awards. Telltale did announce a sequel, The Wolf Among Us 2, in 2019. There is a trailer for the game, but we've heard very little since then. It was planned to release in 2023, but now will most likely be released in 2024, if at all. Now, Telltale has a story of their own, with them being a bad company to work for. They did go under, and then they came back with a plan to do better for their employees. But that's a story for another time. We are here to talk about The Wolf Among Us, after all. The game's graphics try to simulate that of a comic book, a tactic that looks good to this day. However, you can still tell the game is 10 plus years old. It didn't age as well as games like Zelda The Wind Waker. The animation and facial expressions are there better than most games, but they do feel very robotic. Sometimes these bit of bad animations reminds me that I'm playing a game, and it takes me out of the experience, but those moments were far and few between. They do make up for this with the action sequences. Those are always fun and well made. To be clear, this is a choose-your-own-adventure game, therefore there isn't much gameplay. You can walk around certain places and do certain things, such as pick up an item that you might be able to use later, or find something that will open up a dialogue tree later in the story. The action sequences are QuickTime events, and here you have some choice as to how you want to fight. Things like smashing a guy's head over here or over there, or if you want to fight them all, or if you want to fight them at all. The story also changes if you decide not to do anything with the QTEs or choice you have in front of you. Most choices you only have a certain amount of time to decide. Some of these choices have hidden events if you don't do anything. I should mention that there are a lot of smash A moments in the game, and there's no option to change this to hold A. I don't blame the game for not including this feature, because the game came out before options like this became popular for those with disabilities. And in each episode, there is always a big event you choose that changes the story greatly, and this makes you want to play through the game again afterwards, because there is a lot you must miss the first time around. Now, having played this game 3 times, it's clear a lot of choices don't carry as much water as you might think. For example, there is a time you can can rip a certain person's arm off. If you do, they never mention it again. You just see them without the arm for the rest of the game. Same goes for saving the life of Prince Lawrence at the start. If you save him, you see him like twice in the game, and he has like 2 lines total afterwards. Maybe I missed something, but I did try to get more of him after I saved him. Also, the QTEs. Most of the time your choices only change the sequence of the fight, but the ending is always the same. There was one point where Snow got shot if you didn't fight back, and that really shocked me. But most of the time, it's just to keep the player engaged. It's a bummer those choices don't do as much as one would like. Games like Detroit Become Human really do make the choices matter. The story really goes the same route no matter what choice you make, which is fine, and I understand why they did it. It's hard to make a game, much less a game with potentially 100 stories, right? And the fact doesn't help that many people play about one playthrough. Either way, the first playthrough not knowing this info really enhances the experience, because it does feel like your choices do matter. Overall, the game is very stable, and I've only encountered one game-breaking glitch on one of the playthroughs. I don't know what happened, but my game just froze on a screen and gave me a bunch of options with no dialogue choices on them. And after hitting a few buttons for a few minutes, I ended up back at the start of the episode. I had to leave the game and come back. It was odd, and I never encountered it again. Otherwise, the game stuttered about 4 times throughout my 10+ hours playing the game and replaying it. But that's really it. Alright, let's talk story. It's one of the best I've played in a long time, with a world, characters, and a premise that keeps you playing until the end. Some of this I already mentioned, but there is a reason why I played it 3 times. I honestly just don't want the ride to end. It felt too short, and that's a good thing. It's about 8 to 11 hours long, and that's long enough. But the game felt like it took 2 hours. It was that engaging. At the end of each episode, there is a next time on trailer based on the choices you made throughout the game. You can tell they didn't have the next episode finished when the previous episode thing released. Most of what you see is not the next episode or in the game at all, which is sad because I did want to see it in there. I kept thinking about the story and what happened until the end. Luckily, the game doesn't leave you with a massive cliffhanger or anything like that. The story is tied up nicely. However, there is a big theory going around about the very tail end of the game and what it means. I won't go into it, but it's worth looking up. I could go on about the characters and the little things I kept noticing after each playthrough, but I'll leave that as it is. I think that about covers it. It really is a great game and one worth playing at least once. There's definitely more to be desired when it comes to your choices affecting the story, but that didn't make me love the game any less. The Wolf Among Us is on all platforms except the Switch and is about $15. Worth picking up at that price, and I'm sure it will go on sale on Steam and such very often. The Wolf Among Us 2 is planned to be released soon, but honestly, I have no idea if it's ever gonna drop. Fingers crossed though for a 2024 release. Let me know your experience with this game. I played it in high school and then haven't touched it again until a few weeks ago, and it was great because I forgot about most of it. How did you all find the game and what did you think? Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and don't forget to take care of yourself, okay? I'll see you next time.